name is Gabi, and right behind me is the fully loaded version of the Kia Niro Hybrid. Now I will say, the Kia Niro in itself is quite literally the Goldilocks of the Kia car lineup. It has a trim level or a powertrain for just about anybody, ensuring you get the right fit. Now today with the Hybrid, we're talking about everything you get, and it is a full walkthrough. This is also live streamed, so we're doing this in real time with no script and no editing. The car is currently running right now. You can hear the engine. Maybe that's why there's a little bit of extra background noise. Now we're going to start off with the exterior and then talk powertrain. But in the meantime, I'm going to have Adam turn off the engine, so we can get a quiet space. Now I'll mention the price point to you guys. We're based here in Canada, where the Niro SX in the hybrid powertrain is priced at $39,545 Canadian. Now that is the base MSRP, so not including taxes and fees. With the Niro Hybrid, you have 4 trim levels to choose from, of course with the SX topping it out. The color we have here today is called Cityscape Green, and this specific green shade is exclusive to our hybrid and plug-in hybrid vehicles, more specifically the Kia Niro and the Sorento hybrid plug-in hybrid. Now I'm going to have Adam take over the camera, and we'll talk front-end styling as well as our powertrain tech. On the front end, the SX model will give you a couple of extra luxe finishes as far as design goes, some of which include the high gloss black material, so lots of shine, a little bit more classy. There's just a bit more going on with the SX version. I'll turn the headlights on in a second, where we'll see we have full LEDs, and that actually starts only on the SX. You'll also get the inclusion of LED fog lamps too. Now looking over here, we have these circular ultrasonic parking sensors. While you get the ones on the rear in lower end trim levels, we only get the front mounted sensors over here on the SX. So whether you're pulling into a parking spot or reversing, you will get audible feedback inside the cabin, as well as a little digital map showing you just how close you are to the objects in front of you. It's marked by green, yellow, or red, with of course the red being maybe a little bit too close. You're approaching something relatively closely. Again, for our front end, we will get more high-end finishes. Like I mentioned earlier, we have the gloss black, but we also get silver painted, almost chrome-like skid plates for both the front and the rear. Now let me get those lights on. We'll also pop the hood so we can talk powertrain next. I mentioned that the SX model will be the only trim level available of the hybrid Niro, where you have full LEDs. So this is your full headlamp system on. These are your daytime running lights. There we go. And then, of course, we have off. I'll make sure our fog lamps are on. There we are. Mounted a little bit lower on our front end. And then we'll also get the hazards on too. So the hazard lights on this vehicle have a nice bright amber glow. We'll also have them translated towards your mirrors. Now on the SX model, these mirrors are power folding. You can fold them in on command by a button located by your mirror controls. However, every time you lock the vehicle, they will also fold automatically. Now let's shut the vehicle off so we don't drain the 12-volt battery. I'll pop the hood. I mentioned earlier in this video, there are 3 different Kia Niros, all of which have their own trim levels between them. There's the Niro Hybrid, a Niro plug-in hybrid, and a Niro full EV. For the Niro Hybrid though, we have a 1.6-liter gasoline direct injection 4-cylinder. Now this gas engine works with an electric motor and a higher voltage battery, so not the typical 12-volt battery you have in just about every vehicle. We have another one on top of that. Now that battery's capacity is 1.32 kilowatt hours, and our electric motor produces about 32 kilowatts. For the actual engine itself though, combined with our electric motor, we have 139 total horsepower, as well as 195 pound-feet of torque. Now, what number do we see that's very impressive on the Niro Hybrid? It's the fuel efficiency. So here in Canada, we measure by liters per 100 kilometers. I don't know what the miles per gallon equivalent it is, so if anyone wants to do that calculation, please do so in the chat. We have about 4.8 liters per 100 kilometers here with the Niro in its SX trim level. That's actually slightly worse fuel efficiency-wise than the lesser trims, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. But nonetheless, 4.8 liters per 100 kilometers is fantastic. Paired to that, we have a 6-speed dual-clutch transmission, which is extremely efficient and quick in its shifting. We'll take a look at the wheels next, because the wheels actually have to do with why we have a little bit less fuel efficiency on this specific trim. Here we have an 18-inch alloy exclusive to the SX model, and while it is absolutely stunning and beautiful in its machined finish, Because we have a larger wheel, we do have a little bit less fuel efficiency. All other trim levels are equipped with a 16-inch alloy, and they do 4.4 liters per kilometers, so a small difference, but style points on this one. Your tire is an all-season tire. It's a Continental. All seasons are not to be confused with winter tires. Absolutely not. Now, I definitely recommend getting winters if you are getting the Niro or any vehicle in an area that gets snow or slushy conditions. Winter tires are built with a different compound that's softer, so they're not going to turn into ice pucks, or hockey pucks, I should say, come cold conditions. For our brakes, we have ventilated disc brakes up at the front and solid disc brakes in the rear, and the Niro is only available as a front-wheel drive configuration. Do not let that scare you though. Front-wheel drive, it's not bad in the winter. What's bad in the winter is cars without snow tires and very, very, very confident drivers that maybe shouldn't be confident all the time. As far as ground clearance goes, we are slightly raised, so it is not going to be as low as your typical sedan, making it easier to maneuver come snowier conditions. I mentioned earlier on the front end about the higher end finishes on the exterior of the Niro SX, and these black wheel arches continue that. So we have a high gloss black finish that translates throughout the side skirt of the vehicle, rear door panels. And then we also have a half chrome plated door handle. Compared to your door handle, you'll notice that we don't have a button that indicates our usual proximity entry. And while we certainly still do have proximity entry, we also have the addition of digital key on the SX model, allowing you to unlock, start, and drive your vehicle from your smartphone. So if you are someone who's fairly tech savvy, this eliminates the need for your physical key. Of course, you can still certainly use it. That also means you can share access to other drivers and revoke access to. Not other drivers throughout the world, I mean your friends and family who might need to borrow your car. Up at the top, we have our black roof rails. And just below that, you'll notice our window molding has a little bit of that satin chrome finish continued. However, the actual pillars themselves are not gloss black, and that is a win, because this is a very highly scratchable area. The regular black plastic will make it far more durable, especially if you like going to touch car washes. Please don't go to touch car washes, but if you do, this will hold up way better than gloss black. All right, let's work our way towards the rear of the vehicle. One of my favorite design cues, which is actually for aerodynamics, is the C-pillar on the Kia Niro. Now, it may look like, the Audi R8. People often get these two vehicles confused. It has a similar property, this pillar here. So it's actually an air curtain. If you come towards the back, you might be able to see right through it. There you go. So this is meant to channel air past the vehicle and minimize resistance, maximize the airflow, making this car a little bit more efficient as far as design goes. Our taillights are full LEDs on the SX model, and we have a high-mounted stop lamp integrated into the spoiler. The spoiler itself adds to the style of the vehicle, creates a good swoop. I really wish they hid the rear wiper underneath it. I think it would really tidy up the whole space of the rear end on the Niro, but I'm not mad about it. And of course, I'm very happy we still have a rear wiper to begin with. You get your parking sensors mounted along your back bumper, a little bit on the body color, a little bit on the gloss black. And then our rear skid plate, again, has that chrome finish. It's a bit of a satin chrome, so you're not gonna have to polish it every single day to make it look good. It's a little bit more forgiving and a little bit more modern too. Pop open the hatch where we have a smart power liftgate. Oh, there we go. It is height adjustable, so if you'd like it to be a little bit shorter or a bit taller, all you have to do is manually move it to your set height, and then press and hold this button until the car beeps, and that saves your memory for your liftgate. Space-wise, we have 646 liters of cargo space behind your rear seats, and that is actually very impressive. This vehicle isn't technically an SUV, it's more of a crossover, but we've got SUV-like space with better than sedan-like fuel efficiency. So it's quite literally the best of both worlds. Back to that Goldilocks reference I made earlier, it's the perfect sweet spot. If you need to knock your rear seats down, you most certainly can. To do so, there's these pull tabs on the shoulder areas of both of your outside seats. The seat on the left, or the driver's side, is the 40 portion of the 60-40 split. And then the passenger side, two seats will go down together. So that is your 60 portion. We have our summer mats here. These come with all of our vehicles brand new. A lot of people ask if rubber mats come with cars, and the answer is maybe if you work that into the deal, but the cars don't come from factory with a rubber mat. So you either purchase them or negotiate for them, and depending on what your dealership is feeling like that day, maybe they'll throw them in. Underneath the floorboard, we have a tire mobility kit, which is not a spare tire, but it's in place of one. Essentially, it's an inflator kit with a sealant, so it'll pump air and that sealant property to kind of plug any sort of impact or puncture that your tire may have experienced. Is this helpful if you experience a total tire blowout? No. Yeah, no, I have nothing else to say. But the vehicle does come with 5 years, unlimited kilometers, complimentary roadside assistance, so that is quite helpful. And assuming if you would really want a spare tire, you could put one in here. It would take up a bit of your cargo space, though. I don't see it fitting under the floorboard. But let me know what you guys think about that. Most hybrids and smaller vehicles don't come with spares anymore. That's unfortunate, but hopefully you never have to run into the use of one anyway. Along the side, I'll have Adam point out we have LED cargo lights and a small storage pocket just below that that would almost perfectly fit a bottle of washer fluid. Come wintertime, it's always good to have some extra washer fluid in your car. I'm going to close this up now. We'll talk a little bit about the tech and safety on this vehicle. Now, what I'm about to mention isn't exclusive to the SX model. It is included in many trim levels of the Niro Hybrid, I believe starting on the EX trim, one of which is blind spot detection. So many people are familiar with this function. Essentially, when you're driving and there's someone in your left or right blind spot, the corresponding mirror will illuminate to give you a bit of a passive warning that there's somebody approaching, whether it's a cyclist, motorcyclist, or another car. This will also beep if you were actively indicating a lane change. So if you're just driving, no reason to change lanes, it just lights up. But if you're actively signaling, it'll beep too. On top of that, if you try to change lanes while it senses there's a car there, it will revert you back into your originating lane to avoid a blind spot collision. Similarly, we also have rear cross traffic collision avoidance. So this uses sensors along the rear and your blind spot system to measure if there's any vehicles or pedestrians that could be crossing behind your car. So just like this, if I was walking behind the Niro while I was trying to reverse, it would beep and then emergency brake to avoid hitting me or my vehicle. This is really helpful if there's two very large vehicles parked next to you. You may not be able to see a pedestrian that is this far away because, of course, the car next to you is blocking it, but the car does see it and it does warn you. You also have a very good quality backup camera that will show on the inside, as well as forward collision avoidance assist, lane keeping assist, smart cruise control, and highway driving assist, all of which I'll explain more inside. For your fuel door, it hides a 42-liter gas tank, which is cheap to fill up, especially considering it only requires regular unleaded fuel, so no premium necessary. And again, our fuel consumption is about 4.8 liters per 100 kilometers, and that is combined, so both highway and city driving. I'll have Adam peer into the cabin so we can take a quick look at our interior materials. The SX model introduces the leatherette seating. We have heated and ventilated seats up at the front for driver and passenger, and we even get heated seats in the rear too. A huge upgrade in terms of comfort comes with the controls for both the driver and passenger seats. So we have a power driver seat, which is always nice. You can adjust the height, the distance of the seat, as well as the backrest and our lumbar support. But we also have memory settings. So these two buttons here allow you to save 2 driver seats per user profile, and your vehicle actually comes equipped with 3 driver profiles. So 2 regular drivers, 1 guest. That means we have 6 total saves for the driver. Now your mirrors are also paired with your driver seat settings. So let's say your partner drives your vehicle for a while, you have very different height differences. There will be no fighting, provided you've already gone ahead and saved your seat. For our door card, we have a mix of materials, so that we have a little bit of metal, gloss black for this large panel here, and then our door handles are painted silver. Down here, we can see our sound system, which is a Harman Kardon premium sound. We have our bottle holder integrated into the door pocket, and then all of our window and mirror controls mounted in their typical spot. So the button to power fold your mirrors is right over here. You can adjust your mirrors here, and they are heated. And then we have proximity, oh my goodness, express windows for driver and passenger. Now by my driver knee area, we have a few quick controls, one of which is for the brightness. So because we have a lot of screenage real estate, you can quickly dim it or brighten it up if necessary. You have your button for your lift gate to power open or close it, a 12-volt battery reset, and your traction control. So the 12-volt battery reset's quite cool. With a vehicle like this, of course, we still have a regular 12-volt battery. And if you like leaving your lights on or running your vehicle without it actually on, just in accessory mode, you can wake up to a dead battery. This essentially boosts your 12 volts using your high voltage battery pack. So if you're going away for a long time, your car is just sitting in your garage in the cold, you might come back to the dead car. Instead of getting jumper cables, you can simply press that. It'll send a boost from the high voltage to the 12 volts, eliminating the need for your typical jumper cables. So handy. I'm gonna take the camera from Adam so he can turn on our exterior lights again. They're motion censored. And we'll take a look at our steering wheel. Now our steering wheel is heated and it heats the entirety of the wheel. The left-hand side has our driver assistance settings. So this button up at the top left will be to turn on or off our smart cruise control, which if you're on the highway automatically switches to highway driving assist. You'll set your speed with the plus and the minus, just a toggle, so you push it up or down. And then you'll set your following distance with this bottom left button. To turn on or off our steering assistance, this button here will do just that. And that'll essentially use the camera located in the windscreen to watch the lanes ahead of you to keep you centered in them at all times. It does not make full left or right turns, so if you're counting on it to do that, that is still up to you. But it does minimize the need for constant driver input, especially if you need an alignment. This will keep you centered in your lane. You don't have to do that constant correction. It's really good for long trips. Below that, we have our drive mode select, and if I turn the car back on, we'll be able to go through them. There we go, perfect use for a 12 volt reset button. We'll put the vehicle in accessory mode, and by pressing this, we can see our selected drive modes. So we have an eco mode in the Kia Niro and a sport. Eco mode will prioritize fuel efficiency, of course, and then sport mode will run the engine a little bit more rather than constantly relying on a little bit of EV or a little bit of mix. And it will provide you with a little bit more of a responsive throttle input. So if I hit the gas a little bit, I might feel like the car's a bit faster. It's not adding any horsepower or anything, but it is prioritizing a bit of a quicker response. For our gauge, you can see it's fully digitized. It is a 10¼ inch display, and I can change my views. The gauge theme also changes based off your drive mode. So we have our lane safety, our drive info, navigation, as well as our tire pressure and our engine temperature display. Right-hand side is for media, so we have our voice commands, volume control, phone, and a programmable favorites button, as well as our media modes, and a toggle to cycle between next song or next station. The main head unit here is, again, another 10¼ inch display with built-in navigation, as well as a dedicated hybrid menu. The hybrid menu shows you your average fuel economy, as well as the current energy flow. So if your vehicle is drawing power specifically from the engine, the electric motor, or even recharging the battery. On the topic of recharging the battery, I might just talk about the way the hybrids work a little bit. So with a hybrid, you have, of course, your gasoline engine, but also your electric motor. On a regular hybrid, not plug-in, you don't have to plug it in at all. So there's no charging involved done by you. The vehicle does all of its charging by itself, whether that be from the engine running or by coasting or braking in this vehicle. When you let off the accelerator to coast or you hit the brakes, your vehicle will just slow down. It's actually recharging the battery, which is quite interesting to think about. This vehicle does something called regenerative braking, so even if you're not actively pressing the brake pedal, your vehicle is kind of changing its function. The electric motor, instead of propelling you, is rewinding and drawing some power back into your battery. That is kinetic energy that in a gas vehicle would otherwise be wasted as heat. So it's quite cool. It also maximizes the lifespan of your brakes too, because you're not constantly using your, friction brakes. I'm going to show you one of our vehicle menus that allow you to change this. There is a smart regeneration function built into the Niro. It's found under Setup and Vehicle. And then we have an Eco menu or Eco Vehicle menu. Here you can turn on or off smart regeneration, and it essentially lets the vehicle decide how strong to adjust the brake force based off traffic conditions and what kind of driving you're doing. Pretty cool. There's also a green zone drive mode, so if it detects you're in a school zone or a hospital area, it's going to prioritize you using most of its driving in EV mode. Speaking of EV mode, while the regular hybrid might not have a rated range of, let's say, 50 or 55 kilometers like the plug-in hybrid, when you're sitting in stop-and-go traffic or driving slowly, it'll still be in electric mode. So a regular gas car would otherwise just be idling and wasting fuel. This car will just be sitting happily in EV, which is pretty cool. Below that, we have our climate control and our infotainment. So this is a flippable cluster One screen that does two functions. When you don't see the blue and the red here, that's when it's in media, and it's a volume knob or your tune knob. And then we have quick controls for things like our setup, our nav, our radio. There's also a slight climate screen on the far left where you can turn on or off your front and rear defrost and your automatic climate control. By pressing the fan here though, it turns into our full climate control menu where we have dual zone as well as driver only. Driver only will just prioritize heating or cooling the driver's area. So a little bit more efficient. I'm going to turn that off for now though and show you guys what we have underneath. This is our charging area. So we have a USB in the center, a 12 volt on the left, and then a USB-C on the right. All different ways to charge your phone. If you forgot your cable, that's no problem because there's also a wireless phone charger right below. And it's a fairly wide one too, so larger modern phones should fit here no problem. Your gear shift is a regular lever style, which is my favorite. And then we have our push to start ignition, our heated and cooled seat controls, heated steering wheel, our auto hold braking function, as well as our parking camera, our parking brake, parking camera, which we'll give a quick glance at. The steering wheel, input from the steering wheel will also move your guidelines too. And then a button to turn on or off our parking sensors and the passenger's heated and cooled seat controls. Below that are cup holders that are adjustable. You can retract them if you just want space, and then pop them out if you need it. The key is right over here. It's our smart key, so we have remote start built in, as well as your lock, unlock, and liftgate button, and then our panic button too. Center console is pretty standard. Just kidding, it's pretty small, but it is covered, so a little bit of privacy if you have any items that are high value and you don't want to leave them out in the open. At the top, we have a lighter headliner, which kind of gives the feeling of a more spacious cabin, and then a power sunroof. Now the sunroof fully opens, or you can have it tilted, and then of course the cover itself is manual, but the glass is powered. As far as headroom goes on the Niro, it is a fairly spacious vehicle. So taller driver, shorter driver, it don't matter, there is room for you. I do have my seat pretty elevated right now. It is nice to have a good height adjustment. So if I were to drop it down, a little bit lower, bring it closer to how I would normally drive, that looks right. You can see you have a good amount of room. The seats are also pretty funky in their design. They are fairly supportive, but they're not constricting, like the bolstering isn't too heavy. And really interesting headrests. They look funky, but there's a reason that they're built like this, and I'll show you guys in a second. The last thing I want to highlight on the interior is our rear view mirror, which is automatically dimming, as well as a slight bit of ambient lighting. You can change the color to your preference. And then we also have a heads-up display. Now the heads-up display is an SX model exclusive. It shows you your speed, the posted speed limit, as well as if there's any vehicles in your blind spot. If you were to have your navigation on, it would also show you when it's time for you to turn or take an exit. So it gives you active navigation guidance. Gonna head on over to the passenger side where I'll show you your passenger seat controls. They are powered starting on the SX model, and we also have height adjustment as well as lumbar support for the passenger. So here you go, backrest, height and angle, as well as your two-way lumbar. Alrighty, let's take a look at the rear seats, and we'll check them out for space as well as amenities. Price point of this vehicle again is $39,545 Canadian, and this is the top trim level. So for our rear seats, our two main seats are extremely wide and they'll also be heated. Your heat controls are located on the door card. We'll also have our window controls, of course, and those silver painted door handles again. Now your middle seat, if no one's sitting here, you can drop it down, armrest or cup holder, and then retract it back. You also have car seat anchors for your two main seats, and then car seat tethers along the back for all three of them. For the actual seat amenities itself, like I mentioned, they are heated. We also have a storage pocket behind both the driver and passenger seats, and then built-in USB-Cs onto the seat back. In the center console, or behind the center console, I should say, we have our air vents. The temperature controlled is from the driver, so whatever they have the temp set to is what will flow back here, but you can adjust the direction of the fan as well as the intensity over here. This is what I was talking about with the seats being a little bit funky. Now this little hump here is actually doubled as a hanger, coat rack, bag holder, whatever you want to call it, It's built into the seat, so you don't have to buy those, Amazon accessories that kind of clip on and rattle every time you make a turn. It is built onto the seat, it looks good, and it's functional. Headroom-wise, the rear seat is pretty spacious, actually. So our ceiling kind of convexes upwards to give you a little bit more headroom, and the seats are wide. You've got lots of space. If you're sitting in the middle, of course, it's going to be the most narrow seat, and it's slightly elevated too, but I'm still nowhere near touching the ceiling. So headroom-wise on the Niro and space-wise, you're pretty good unless you're in the middle, where you still have headroom, but you may not necessarily have the most butt room, for lack of better terms. Now, I think that's about it for what I wanted to cover on the walk around. I think we'll answer some viewer questions before we end off today's live stream. So I'll take the camera from Adam and see what you guys have to say. I'll also mention some of the SX model exclusives, so what you get on the top trim level only. And we might as well start off with the exterior there. So on the exterior on the SX, you will get full LED headlamps. That goes your daytime running lights, your positioning lights, the headlamps themselves, and also the inclusion of those LED fog lights. On the lesser trim levels, you have LEDs for the daytime running lights and the positioners, but your main headlamp is still a halogen bulb, and you won't get the fog lights. For our wheels, they go up from the 16-inch alloy to an 18-inch SX exclusive. You'll also get the power folding mirrors, rain sensing wipers, the front parking sensors, as well as the high gloss black exterior design points. So that will be along your bumper, along your wheel arches, along the door panels, and of course your rear, and also our chrome skid plates on the front and the back. For the interior, the SX model will give you the leatherette seating, the ventilated seats up at the front, the heated seats in the rear, as well as the premium sound system. Sorry, a little brain fart. Premium sound system, the heads-up display, quite a few nice extras. If you guys have any questions about any of the features I mentioned today, whether it be tech or safety or comfort functions, let me know before the chat ends, and then we can answer them together. See what you guys are saying so far. Echo Mine said, I like this SUV, great miles per gallon and not too expensive for all that you get. Amen. I think the Niro is such a fantastic vehicle, truly from the bottom of my heart. A lot of people will say, oh, I just wish it came in all-wheel drive. And I get that, but I do think there's a pretty big misconception with all-wheel drive. A lot of people kind of think of them and think, oh, that means I don't have to get winter tires. That means I'm unbeatable in the winter. I can drive anywhere and do anything. And that's not exactly it. All-wheel drive does not mean all-wheel stop. So while it can definitely help you get moving, sometimes it can just help you get moving into worse situations, such as the ditch. So the biggest thing come wintertime or snowy, slushy conditions is the actual grip you have with the road. And all-wheel drive doesn't help with grip, it just helps with movement. So if you have movement and no grip, that's pretty bad. Let's see what else you guys have to say. Safety, that's quite the blind spot on the rear panels behind you. Okay, let's take a look, shall we? I should probably be sitting in the front for this, but yeah, let's head on over to the front. I think visibility-wise on the Niro, it actually does a really good job. I'm not sure how it looks on camera, especially being as we're sitting in the middle rear seat. But let's do a quick little blind spot check. So I'm driving, I'm going along, and I gotta check my blind spot. I don't know, I think it's pretty good, you guys, actually. The rear panel back there isn't really in view of my blind spot. I can see where I need to go. And then, of course, I do have the added safety of the blind spot detection. By no means is blind spot detection meant to stop you from checking your blind spot. You absolutely still should, but it is a helpful measure too. All right, ride height on this vehicle as well too. I will say it is going to be higher than a sedan, but not too high where it feels like you're climbing into the car every single day. So if you are someone who struggles with mobility issues, I do find it easy to kind of just slide into this vehicle. It's not dropping down or climbing in. It's just kind of, you just fit right in. With that ground clearance as well too, being better than a sedan, you don't really turn into a snowplow come wintertime. So if you're driving on an unplowed road, you're not going to be pushing everything. You can pass it. All right, so let's see. Ryan also said that's not as big as a blind spot as it looks on camera. Yeah, there's no real bad blind spots on this car at all. It's just the positioning of me sitting in the middle seat. Windows are also relatively upright, and the seating position as well is also upright. I have no idea how you remember all of these specs in such detail. Me either. I will say there's a lot of things in life I forget because my brain is just only housing so many Kia and Hyundai facts, but it's okay. I remember the major stuff. My birthday, sometimes. Anything else? I think that's going to be about it for today's video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again on today's video at 2 p.m. We'll be going live again on a Hyundai car. So, in the meantime, take care, brush your hair. If you have any questions and you weren't on the live chat, let me know in the comments down below because I check them every single day. Bye, guys. Ah!